the state of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Stuff that I noticed, just got some thoughts on my mind. I've been thinking about for a long while. How unfortunate that the game has, mainly it's the player base, not the game itself. Obviously, it's the players, the community has changed a lot. Not for the better, it has changed for the worse. But unfortunately, it's the game, currently is in the hands of the new generation. So it's their game. I mean, they like it. I'm not mad that, I'm happy that at least they're enjoying the game. How they're enjoying it is a different story, but I'm happy they're at least enjoying the game. So they got something to do, right? They got a hobby. There's content creators out there, and there's people out there, buying and selling cards, collecting cards. So at least people are in the community. So at least the community still exists, right? At least the game didn't die. But unfortunately, the skill level of the player base has died drastically. Recently, the playstyle has shifted from, the whole unbreakable boards concept, trying to put up multiple negates, and just, the whole glass cannon thing is like, put up a whole entire board, right? Like, waste your whole hand, build a board, and hope your opponent can't break it. But people got better at breaking boards. They got access to cards that make it easier to break boards. So now the whole unbreakable board strategy is no longer as good as it used to be, right? Because now there are ways to break the boards, which is ironically something I've been doing for a long time, which is why I haven't been doing the whole unbreakable board thing in such a long time. I think the last time I was still doing the unbreakable board thing was like 2008. But think about the fact that people didn't start doing the unbreakable board thing until like, I think 2012, I think it was. Yeah, it was sometimes after like wind-ups and stuff like that. Things like Burning Abyss started coming into the game and stuff like that. I'm thinking when it truly happened, the whole unbreakable board thing, was when we started getting Exceed monsters. Definitely people were doing the unbreakable board thing once we had pendulums, but it was when we had Exceeds monsters. So people, summon Exceed monsters, synchro, and they'll try to build up, try to have multiple negations. Of course, hand traps, right, were part of it. But then later on, when pendulums started becoming a thing, then you were able to bring out stuff like fusions, synchros, and Exceeds, and put up multiple negates. And then, of course, Link monsters just added to that concept. So that's why during the Link era, as I call it, the unbreakable board thing was a popular strategy. Just putting up multiple negates. Pen best deck, right, as they say. So that became a thing. But then, after a while, people started catching on to the fact that they should play Lava Golem, Sphere Mode, Kaijus, Dark Ruler No More, things of that nature. What was the other thing? No, it was Dark Ruler No More. It's the one that negates the stuff. And now they got Forbidden Drop. This is the new thing. But the point is that, the game started getting to the point where, or at least the player base, I should say, started getting to a point of, trying to break these boards, because they realized that you don't always get to go first. So there's no, establishing an unbreakable board that makes it hard for your opponent to establish a board, which was the whole idea of the unbreakable board. It wasn't enough to just have a board that was hard to break. It was also having a board that makes it where your opponent can't establish a board. Since your opponent can't get onto the field to play, well, they can't battle you, right? If you don't let your opponent into the ring, they can't box you, right? If you don't let the other team get onto the field to play the game with you, you can't play football, right? That kind of stuff. That was the idea. So basically, building an unbreakable board became a win con in itself. It, essentially became a FTK, right? If you went first and set up the unbreakable board, your opponent will look at their hand and realize that they can't break your board, they can't establish a board, therefore they scoop. So it essentially became a new win con a Exodia-like effect, which of course I was using for a long time, between 2004 and 2008. You know, the concept of putting up multiple negates, you know, making it hard for my opponent to play the game. You know, I was even doing the last warrior from the planet type strategies back in the day, before 2004. But anyway, but now, but like I said, after 2008, you know, I stopped doing that. I started doing what I call the triangle power strategy, where I will have 3 different cards on the field that gives me control of the game. The most, well, with my assault mode deck, the most common triangle power is skill drain, red screen, and Stardust assault mode, or just Stardust. But typically, I will want assault mode because it's an omni negate. So, with just those 3 cards on the field, you know, I'm able to control the game, which leads me to winning. You know, like 90 to 95% of the time, right? Can I lose? It's possible, but I typically didn't. So there's that. But of course, finding other ways to win quicker, faster, making it where my opponent can't establish a board because most decks require special summoning. That's where stuff like Summon Unlimited, I was promoting that for a long time, like for over a year before it caught on. Then I started doing the whole Reaper Docus strategy, where I would make the big Samorc bird link monster and bring out the barrier, the wind barrier statue. I was doing that for a long while. That caught on. More people started using that strategy. Then I got away from that strategy and just started doing the whole. Once there was a common equip card that came out called Double-Edged Sword, and I was able to combine that with a couple other cards to create OTK. One of those cards being Raffion the Time Lord. So Raffion the Time Lord, along with the sword, will OTK my opponent, right? I would be able to deal my opponent damage twice. So if I give it to one of my opponent's battle cards, the equip card, and it has 5,000 attack, I attack with Raffion. My opponent will take 5,000 damage from the equip card's effect. Then at the end of battle, Raffion's effect will trigger, dealing my opponent another 5,000 because Raffion battled a monster that has 5,000 attack. So 10,000 all together. So, and I still use that strategy now because it's still viable. So that's the main thing I do. So you know, I use stuff like Kaiju and stuff like that in case my opponent has, you know, a battle, you know, a creature, a monster, right, that has the ability to negate, you know, spells and traps and monster effects, like Savage Dragon. So if my opponent has a Savage Dragon, Appaloosa, or something of that nature, you know, just some type, or what is it, Dragoon, DPE is a new thing. So whatever, right, whatever monster they put up that can negate, I would just Kaiju it, then summon the Time Lord, equip the equip card, attack, and deal roughly 10,000 plus. If I use a Kaiju that's 3,300 attack, then it'll be 10,600. But all I need to do is 8,000 damage, right? But if for some reason my opponent manages to gain life, or if Konami decides to increase the life points from 8,000 to, like, you know, 9,000 or 10,000, then this, you know, strategy will be viable for that time. But as long as the, you know, the life is at 8,000, it's relatively easy to deal 8,000 in this game with different types of strategies, of course. Some of the time lords are really good because they're really good at reducing your opponent's life points real quick and fast. I have a chain burn deck that uses Machion the Time Lord, right? Is it Machion? It's the one that cuts your opponent's life points in half after battle. So reducing your opponent from 8,000 to 4,000, and then all you have to do is just burn them for 4,000 is a great strategy. So these are the kind of things that I do, and they work a lot, especially in this day and age. Because like I said, the player base has gotten weaker. It's strong in one way because now they're slowly catching up. The thing is, they're still behind, super behind. See, there was a time where when I came up with something new and put it out there on the internet, people will catch on real quick, and it will spread it. And Like when I did the whole putting the reasoning in the Monarch structure deck, and made the Monarch structure deck actually good and playable during the time Pendulums was starting to gain popularity, and the Pendulum deck was, was very strong because it was very fast, and people would joke about the Monarchs being a brick. So then I came up with the idea that, let's make the deck faster. So I noticed certain aspects of the deck had graveyard effects, and reasoning. Your opponent has to guess the number. So if you have monsters in your deck that have different levels, like level 8, level 6, level 2s and 1s, right? It'll be hard for them to call the right number. Granted, they should always try to say 8 or 6. That'd be the logical thing to say. But typically it depends, right, on how you built your deck. But the whole point is that there's a higher probability that you'll get to play out a Monarch for free, or you'll just get some of the traps, specifically the Monarch trap, the one that's like a trap monster that you can play from your graveyard, so that way you have something to tribute for your Monarchs, and of course the squires, the low level 2 ones. The dark one, if I'm right, is the one you could like batter from the graveyard to summon the light one. The light one brings out dark or whatever, and you can go from there. The point is just to thin out your deck, get some stuff in the graveyard that you can use to start playing the game. I think there was another card. I think it was like a search card you could play from the graveyard. So since a lot of the effects of the deck worked in the graveyard, it was not a problem to add this card into the deck, and you were able to play 3 at the time. When I came up with the idea, and I put it out there. The idea. Of course, I automatically got hate, which is the ironic thing to happen back at that time, for people to just think my ideas were terrible and stupid and dumb. You had some people who just didn't like the idea, which was ignorant. Then you had the other group of people who just was like, oh, this is nothing special. This idea is nothing new. It's like, it is on the internet and in competitive play. Yes, it is a new idea to put reasoning in Monarchs. If some people at their locals or at their mom's kitchen table played reasoning in their Monarch deck, oh, good for y'all. You're ahead of the curve, as they say. But y'all didn't go to tournaments with the idea. Y'all didn't post the idea on the internet. So no, it's not really new, because it's about, is it new on the internet? Is it common knowledge? Just because a few people know about it doesn't mean the whole world does, right? But once you put it on the internet, there's a higher possibility of the whole world knowing, right? All the players having access to that knowledge and information, which is why if you have good ideas, you should share them with the world, right? Put them online so that way the community of players can see it and, be able to use that information like I do. So you had a couple people that was trying not to give me any credit for the reasoning in Monarch's concept. But then, of course, you had the ones that just thought it was a terrible idea, thought I was stupid, I don't know how to play the game, blah, blah, all that ignorant stuff, which is always wrong for them to think that. And then what's ironic was there was some people who actually gave it a chance. Some people who actually tried. Somebody went and tried it out on YUGIOH Pro at the time, and they tried out the idea. And they were like, oh my God, it's amazing. I played 10 games and I won all 10 games. And I didn't brick. The deck worked perfectly because of that one card. Every time they drew the card, it made the deck playable. So the fact that people actually gave it a chance was awesome. And the fact that they admitted that they tried it and let people know that, yeah, it does work. It is a good idea. And then it went from there. Then people started doing it. You start seeing it in competitive play, people topping with the Monarch deck. When everybody thought Pendulums was the best thing at the time, but the Monarch deck was topping instead, thanks to me. And then, of course, my naysayers, my haters, the ones who didn't think it was a good idea. Of course, I went out of my way to get the links for the deck profiles of the Monarch decks to top, and was using reasoning and stuff like that, obviously, right? And, showed it to them. Of course, they didn't care, right? No surprise there. They didn't care. They're just haters because they just like to hate. They actually don't care. Whatever, right? Which just shows that it's like, yeah, ignore the haters, ignore the naysayers, because even when you prove them wrong, they don't care. That's the thing. They were just hating just to hate. They had no legit reason to hate, right? It's not like they were justified. It's not like they were right, or they truly believed they were right. They just wanted to say what they wanted to say because they wanted to hate. You know how jealousy is. They hate us because they ain't us. All right, well, anyway, so they didn't seem to care too much for it, but at least, I know I was right, so I got the proof of that. But then, of course, the card got banned. Not too surprising. It is that good. It is good in other decks. I've used it a lot in a lot of other decks. That's why it was just an automatic, obvious idea for me. Like, put this in Monarchs. I already used this in a lot of other decks, and it works great. It should work great in Monarchs. And of course, I tried it out in Monarchs before I even put the idea out there. I even had a deck profile, and I call it the brickless Monarchs. So I put the idea out there because people were saying that Monarchs brick, and you could build houses with them, right? That whole joke. So it's a meme. So the deck was a meme. People were talking about the deck bricks. So I wanted to prove that if you put reasoning in the deck, it will be brick less, right? It will brick less than it would if you didn't play the card in the deck. So, well, I set out to prove it right, and I did. And then it got banned. And there's a lot of other cards that I played for many years that at some point eventually got banned or restricted. And then people start wanting to use it after it got restricted or used. Like, I used composer evacuation device for many years, ever since it came out. But then I had some people who always complain, like, why do you always keep playing that card? There's way better cards. Why you keep playing it? It's like, because it's amazing. That's why. I know what I'm doing. I've been winning many duels because of it, so I'm not gonna stop using it. I did stop using it and start using other cards, but obviously you got to evolve over time. I'm always trying to stay ahead of the game. But the thing is, it was a good card. It was working for many years. So there was no need to actually stop playing it until it was time to stop playing it and play some other stuff. But then what was ironic was the idea that nobody cared about the card. They thought it was a bad idea for me to play it. But then when it got limited to one per deck, suddenly it was a popular card. Everybody wanted to put it into their decks. I'm like, are you kidding me? When you used to be able to play 3 in a deck, nobody wanted to use it. And people made fun of me for using it, for using 3 compulsors in my decks. Now when it's limited to 1, now everybody acting like it's a really good card and it's always been a staple in everybody's deck. No, it hasn't. But that's the type of stupidity that I'm talking about, that I see in the game. Some of the problems I see in the community is people who deserve credit don't get the credit they deserve, and there's always people trying to steal credit from other people, which is unfortunate. That's where the whole net decking thing comes from. Somebody wants what somebody else has, right? Oh my God, somebody won a tournament. Let me copy their deck so I can win tournaments, or so I can go to my local card shop and beat a whole bunch of people and act like I'm better than them, because I have this deck. Like, what? It's just cards, and this is just a game, so don't over-exaggerate your victory, you winning a game, as if it's a status symbol of life or something. Like, you won at life. You didn't win at life. You won at a game, at a activity that you play to waste time, because clearly you had nothing better to do than to play games. Now, I'm not trying to talk down, right, on the player base and the community. Obviously, it's a great game. It's fun and all, But sometimes some people need to be put in their place. They tend to over-exaggerate. They literally have nothing better to do in their lives, so then they come to something like Yu-Gi-Oh, and then they try to use Yu-Gi-Oh as a replacement for their life. And since they're pretty much a loser in their lives, I'm gonna be honest, right? Most people are losers in their lives. They don't really make the best decisions in their lives. They don't really succeed in their lives because they don't really put in hard work to achieve anything. So of course they're not succeeding in life. So then when they can find a way to be a winner, as they say, in something, that's what they cling on to. So most people who play card games or any type of game or any type of activity where they could either pay to be good at it, or it just doesn't require that much work to be good at something. So then they'll do it, and then they'll be like, oh, see, look how amazing I am. I'm good at this thing I'm really good at. So think of me as somebody important because I'm really good at this one thing, but that's with anything. Even famous basketball players can claim the same thing, like, hey, look at me, I'm really good at basketball, look at me as a celebrity. It's like, yeah, there's going to be tons of people who are going to do that. There's going to be people who are going to be fans. But anyway, I'm just saying the idea that I know some people just, it's one thing to play the game and be really good at it, and then have people, respect you and look up to you. That is fine. I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's just the idea of somebody acting like they're better than everyone else because of it, right? Just because they're good at a game, or just because they're perceived as good, right? The whole net decking thing. They copy other people's ideas and then just pass it off as their own and try to get credit, right? Try to get treated good, try to get treated special just because they're playing, a deck that they net deck, right? And that's a problem. That's one of the issues I have with net deckers is, the idea that, they're not putting no actual effort into being good at the game. They're just putting money and time into getting decks that they can use to try to give themselves credit. And I've dealt with some people like that, where they don't even blame themselves for why they lost the game. Like, they'll make bad moves, right? They'll make mistakes, they'll make bad decisions, they'll lose at the game. But then instead of blaming themselves for making a bad decision and then trying not to make those same mistakes again, they blame the deck. Oh, it's this deck ain't good enough. No, it's you that's the problem. You had really good cards in your hands and you used them wrong. That's why you lost. You lost because you suck at the game. It wasn't the cards, it was you. So they're, it's that type of person who will blame the controller for why they're losing at a video game. It's like, no, it's because you're bad at the game. You push the wrong buttons at the wrong time, and that's your fault. It has nothing to do with the controller. It has nothing to do with the game mechanics. It's you. You just don't know what you're doing. And instead of admitting and accepting that you don't know what you're doing and then trying to improve upon it, you want to live in this delusion of like, you're perfect, you don't make mistakes, so it has to be something else. It can't be your fault. No way you press buttons at the wrong time. No way you misplay. Like, no. But that's that's the world of humans. That's not a game or card game issue. That's just a human issue. You got a lot of humans out here that really, really want to be good at stuff, which is understandable. I want people to be good at stuff, but I want people to be good at stuff because they actually put in the time and effort to be good. Not they're good because they believe they're good, or they, because then that's being delusional. The whole idea of like, oh, I'm really good, when in reality you're not. It's like, no, I actually put in the effort to be good, and then because you're good, that will show. Everybody will see you're good because you'll actually be doing things the right way. But if you're just going around making mistakes left and right, doing things the wrong way, but still walk around talking about, oh, I'm really good, that's going to be a problem. People are going to look at it like, no, you're not. You're really bad at this game, or really bad at whatever activity you're involved in. So that's something I see, in general in society, but definitely in card game communities. And I've been seeing that a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! The past couple years. Just the decline. Not much can be done. I haven't made Yu-Gi-Oh! Content or videos, I should say, videos about Yu-Gi-Oh! in a long, long time. once in a while I might make a video. But it's been a long time since I did anything. So that's where I'm at. And I would like to make more stuff eventually, but the problem is that there isn't much of anything left to make at all. So that's why you don't see me making anything. So yeah, I'm trying to get. I definitely plan to play more. I definitely will try to get into the whole Master Duel stuff. Master Duel game. That'd be fun to be able to play that. I mean, I still have Edo Pro, so I still play on that from time to time. I think I have to update it because there's some new stuff, so I gotta update it and play it when I get a chance. But I'm currently playing Dragon Ball Super, so when I have the time. I'm busy doing many other things, like podcasting, for example. So my time is spent doing other things. I don't spend that much time playing games, but I do whenever I can, and I play. My main thing is when I play is that I'm trying to master the game. I'm trying to get to the point where it's like I'm really, really good at the game, and I don't need to play it as much in order to be good at it. I'm trying to get to that master level, and with Yu-Gi-Oh, I already achieved that. I'm already at Grandmaster level, whatever you want to call it, in Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm already at my final form, as it were. So now it's just be more of sharing my knowledge and experience with others, teaching other people how to be good, play competitively, go to tournaments and stuff like that. That's all I really have left when it comes to the game. So I haven't even bought Yu-Gi-Oh cards in a long time. I'm actually getting rid of cards and trying to, sell them and, get some money back. And then, invest that into other games or invest it into going to tournaments, right? But there'll be other things that I'll do that will be for Yu-Gi-Oh, that will benefit Yu-Gi-Oh other than playing the game. But we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, man, just really concerned about the gaming, the community, because of the promoting idea of, hand trap deck, and that's what everybody's focusing on. Everybody just talks about hand traps, and there's this new thing about spreadsheets. So now people got making spreadsheets, making step-by-step guides on how to play a certain deck against certain matchups and stuff. And that's cute and all, that's fine. I'm not against it per se. I just think it's funny because it shouldn't be necessary to literally have a step-by-step blueprint of what to do with a deck against other decks. Because for me, I'm all about simplicity. So if you have to have a spreadsheet where it tells you with these 3 cards you can do this, with those 4 cards you can do that, with these 2 cards you can do this against this deck, you gotta put up this negate, not this negate, this negate, and this and that. Is like, yeah, you're making the game more complicated doing that, and that's why I find the whole spreadsheet thing funny. Not just the fact that people are doing spreadsheet, it's also the fact that they're charging money for it. It's like, are you kidding me? Y'all selling this shit? I got way better information worth selling, and the irony is that most people don't want to pay, which is really sad that I got better ideas and information worth paying for, but no one wants to really pay for it. But they'll pay for the subpar stuff, the stuff that's worse than what I have to offer. But whatever, to each their own. I can't convince people to choose better. That's up to them. They have to realize that what I have to offer is better than what most other people have to offer. But whatever. More for me, I guess, right? The whole idea of like, well, nobody wants the awesome information I have to share, then fine, I'll keep it to myself and benefit from it. I'll put it to good use. But yeah, it'll be, interesting to see if the player base improves, because like I was saying earlier, that they Right now the player base is, starting to play the game a little bit more like how I play it, but they still haven't caught on to the whole, winning the game quickly. They'll put up a couple negates and they'll just try to be strategic. They'll try to use the interrupts, the effects they have at the right time and at the right moment. The choke point concept. So they're getting better at control, and which is cool. They're finally catching up to that, but I'm already past the whole controlling the game as my strategy for winning. Now I'm just going straight for the victory, for the W. So hopefully players will catch on. That's why it cracks me up when people when I play on Edo Pro, people playing hand traps. Most of the cards in the hands are useless. Which cracks me up. It's like, y'all really out here playing hand traps. And it's pointless because they don't work against me. My strategies are too specific and straightforward that hand traps would be pointless. So there's that. And putting up negates and stuff. My decks inherently break boards and then OTKs. Breaks board, OTK. That's pretty much all my decks that I have do. I do still have some triangle power decks, some decks where I still put up negates, but I just use them from time to time for fun. But if I'm gonna play seriously, I'm gonna play quickly. I'm gonna play to win real quick. Your one shot kill, as they say, or one punch man strategy, where I just attack you one time and the game is over. I either attack you with a really, really strong monster with something with over 9,000 attack power, or I use a burn strategy that reduces your life points to 0 in one clear shot. I used to do the reversal quiz thing back in the day. That was fun. Another strategy I used was obviously Infernal Tempest, banishing my opponent's deck, especially if their deck was monster heavy, like how most decks are now. They're monster heavy, they don't use a lot of spells and traps. Infernal Tempest is really, really good against those decks, and I've noticed a lot of people are using those decks nowadays. So like I was saying, I'm playing certain cards, that other people aren't using, and that just the element of surprise. And that's what you always want to do, is make sure you have the element of surprise. But these are just some of my. All right. So I hope the player base improves, because I like the idea of creativity and diversity and people trying different things. Hopefully they check out my channel and check out a lot of my old videos, and learn from those videos. I did have a what they call it, Onlyfans account, for the purpose of sharing a lot of my thoughts and ideas, but that didn't seem to be popular. Some people joked about signing up, but no one really did, and that was unfortunate. It's like I had really good information, behind that $5 paywall, right? Really good information, worth way more than $5. But oh well, whatever. It's ironic how some people have said that if I had a Patreon, they'll pay for a Patreon. It's like, okay, it's pretty much no different from paying. Both platforms are, it's just as good. There's no reason not to do it, but whatever. If Patreon's how they do things, okay, fine, I get it. It's just that I had a Patreon account before, but for some reason I don't. I could try to make another one, so I'll probably try to do that today. See if I can create a new Patreon account and see how that goes. But for now, I have a lot of other things to do. Got some card games to play, and I just had some thoughts, some stuff to say of what I'm seeing in the game. I'll probably make more of these for Yu-Gi-Oh! Whenever I have more stuff to say. And that'll be the end of the podcast.